You know that moment when a thought appears, and before you can fully understand it, another part of your mind begins questioning it. Maybe you feel hurt, then immediately wonder whether you're being unfair. You make a decision, then mentally reopen it from every possible angle. Even when you remember something clearly, you may search someone else's face, opinion, or version of events before allowing yourself to believe what you experienced. From the outside, this can look like indecisiveness or chronic overthinking. People may tell you to trust your instincts, stop analyzing everything, or simply be more confident. But advice like that misses the function of the pattern. Constantly checking your own mind is not always a lack of intelligence or strength. Sometimes it is what happens when certainty has repeatedly felt unsafe. This is how a person can gradually stop trusting their own thoughts. It rarely begins as a conscious belief that their mind is unreliable. More often, it develops through hundreds of small moments in which an impression, emotion, memory, or decision is challenged before it has time to settle. Eventually, the question is no longer only, what do I think? It becomes, am I allowed to believe what I think without someone else confirming it? The brain does not experience every thought as equally trustworthy. It uses memory, emotion, bodily signals, and feedback from other people to estimate whether an interpretation is safe enough to act on. When these sources broadly agree, a thought can feel solid even when it is imperfect. But when your internal experience repeatedly conflicts with the reactions around you, the mind may begin treating its own conclusions as provisional. For some people, this develops in an environment where ordinary feelings were frequently corrected. You were not tired, you were lazy. You were not uncomfortable, you were too sensitive. You did not remember the conversation correctly, or you were accused of making something larger than it was. None of these moments alone has to define a childhood or relationship. Repeated often enough, however, they can teach the nervous system that an internal signal is only the beginning of an investigation. Other people learn the pattern through unpredictability. A response that was accepted yesterday creates tension today. A harmless opinion unexpectedly offends someone. A confident answer is met with ridicule, while hesitation is criticized as weakness. In that kind of environment, self-doubt can become a form of social protection. Reviewing every thought offers a small chance of detecting the invisible rule before breaking it. This is partly why the pattern can become so automatic. Behavioral learning strengthens actions that reduce discomfort, even briefly. If asking for reassurance lowers anxiety or changing your opinion prevents conflict, the brain remembers the relief. The next uncertain moment produces the same urge. Check again, gather other perspective, wait for permission. What began as careful adaptation can become the default way of relating to your own mind. Stress makes this even more complicated. When the nervous system detects social threat, attention narrows toward possible errors, rejection, and contradiction. Working memory becomes less available for holding a complete, balanced picture, while emotionally charged possibilities become easier to notice. In ordinary terms, the more pressure you feel to think correctly, the harder it can become to hear your own thinking clearly. Memory does not always rescue you from that uncertainty. Remembering is reconstructive, which means the brain rebuilds an event rather than playing back a perfect recording. Usually, this is an ordinary feature of memory, but someone who already doubts themselves may interpret every missing detail as evidence that none of the memory can be trusted. A reasonable amount of uncertainty becomes a reason to surrender the entire experience. There is no single background behind this pattern. Some people naturally prefer more time and information before reaching conclusions. Others think aloud, revise quickly, and feel comfortable acting without complete certainty. Neither style is inherently healthier, deeper, or more rational. The important distinction is whether reconsidering a thought feels like curiosity or like a requirement for emotional safety. The paradox is that doubting yourself can make you unusually careful. You may notice contradictions, consider other people's perspectives, and hesitate before making unfair assumptions. This can support empathy and thoughtful judgment, but the same carefulness carries a quiet cost when every internal signal must survive a private trial before it is taken seriously. A feeling may disappear beneath an argument about whether it is justified. A preference may be abandoned because you cannot produce enough evidence for it. Decisions can become less about what fits your life and more about choosing the option least likely to be criticized. Over time, you may become highly skilled at explaining everyone else's perspective while feeling strangely absent from your own. Reassurance offers relief, but it can also deepen the dependency it was meant to soothe. Each time another person becomes the final authority on what you meant, remembered, or felt, your own judgment receives less opportunity to become familiar through use. This does not mean seeking perspective is harmful. Perspective becomes costly only when disagreement automatically carries more authority than your direct experience. The deepest loss is not certainty, because no mind can offer perfect certainty. It is permission to hold a thought without immediately putting it on trial. A thought can be incomplete without being worthless. An emotion can be meaningful without proving every interpretation attached to it. A memory can contain uncertainty while still carrying something real about how an experience affected you. You are not broken because your mind checks itself before speaking. That caution may have protected your dignity, your relationships, or your place within an unpredictable environment. It may have helped you avoid conflict when being confidently wrong carried consequences, or when even being quietly right did not guarantee that you would be believed. The pattern makes sense, including the parts of it that now feel exhausting. Understanding this changes the meaning of the doubt. It is no longer proof that there is nothing reliable inside you. It becomes evidence of a mind that learned to search for safety through verification, revision, and other people's reactions. And this may be only one of several quiet patterns revealing how your inner world learned when it was safe to have a voice of its own. Thanks for watching. If you liked this effort, please like, share, and subscribe. It helps support more thoughtful videos like this.